Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new spoiler review here on Max Talks Movies. We're talking about the breakdown of part 3 of 6 of Obi-Wan on Disney+. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Max Stenberg. If you're new, please subscribe and ring that bell. We're trying to get to over 110 subscribers as quickly as possible. I do these reviews now every single Wednesday, including other TV show reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show every single Monday. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below. We are sadly already at the halfway point of Obi-Wan. So know, what are your thoughts? What are your bold predictions for the final 3 episodes? Is this your favorite, least favorite episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video, guys. Helps the algorithm out so more people can be recommended to this video. And I just want to get into this video. So if you knew me last week I did a episode 1 and 2 breakdown, but because it was not one episode, I didn't want to go too long on the video. I just kind of gave my general thoughts. Now this week, if it's just one episode, we kind of like to break down the episode as it is. I'll give my general thoughts as we go throughout. So first of all, I'm so happy I get to put this poster behind me here. Mesmerizing episode. I thought it was my favorite probably episode of the 3 because of how terrifying Vader was in this episode. It felt very much, even more so I think than Rogue One, closer to New Hope Empire Vader than we got in Rogue One, which is a huge positive here. We'll give praise in a second. So we open with the episode and we end right where we began in episode 2. Obi-Wan is just shook that Anakin is alive. And we have the scene where basically he's asking for Qui-Gon again. Now, obviously, we're definitely 1,000,000% going to get Liam Neeson. If it's not, it's going to really piss off a lot of people, including myself. They set that up in the recap video. The previously on Star Wars in the episode 1. Episode 1, he called for Qui-Gon and he calls for Qui-Gon again in this episode. But as he's calling for him, you kind of get different voices coming. You have Reva from last week, you have Yoda, Qui-Gon, and of course Anakin in that fight scene on Mustafar, all coming back. And at the same time as Obi-Wan's thinking and hearing all these thoughts, we're cutting between. We get to see Hayden Christensen as obviously Anakin, the burned up Anakin, and they're putting on the mask, putting on the outfit, and it is painful to watch this outfit being put on Vader, which is exactly what it should be. It's not just painful enough that Anakin's basically all burned up, but he has all these things connecting to his body. The helmet, it's all very painful, and it really evokes that scene in obviously Revenge of the Sith where he puts it on for the very first time. But unlike in Revenge of the Sith where he kind of seemed nervous and unsure when the mask came on for the first time, he seemed 100% confident when this mask is put on. We are on the Vader Castle in Mustafar that's inspired by the Ralph McQuarrie legendary art of Vader back in the day. Obviously, we saw this castle in Rogue One, but we see Vader in his Emperor throne kind of thing, which was amazing to see. And we do get the return of James Earl Jones. Now, big praise to whatever they did to his voice. That way, he is clearly back in this show, but they clearly modified his voice a little bit because he sounded like New Hope Empire Vader, which is exactly what should be come across here. I think if you watch Rogue One and even Rebels, he sounds like as he should be, older James Earl Jones. And I do feel like this, because we're going back in time, he can't really sound like that if he is literally becoming the character in New Hope and Empire. So I do believe that they did it. Whatever they did, first of all, James Earl Jones was great, but they did a good job modifying it to make it sound like this is the same Vader from the original trilogy, which they did. So he's talking to Reva, and Reva's kind of like, I don't know what happened to the Grand Inquisitor. And he's like, I don't really care anymore about the Grand Inquisitor. I care about Obi-Wan. And she's kind of psyched about this as we kind of see her and Sun Kang, who plays the 5th brother, kind of going out to see who can earn Vader's trust. Which should be interesting down the line because, when Reva came in to the Inquisitors, they were kind of like, you're not in charge. And she's like, actually, I just talked to Lord Vader and I am in charge. And then the 5th brother comes and he's like, I actually just talked to Vader and we're doing this. And it's kind of like a back and forth. So I kind of like that. Again, great scene of Vader. He looks on Mustafar. Then for the most of the episode, it is Obi-Wan and Leia on the run. Again, we go on this planet. We meet Freck, who is voiced by Zach Braff. Who is possibly taking him off planet. It doesn't really happen. Obi-Wan and Leia, they're disguising, and this leads to Obi-Wan and being in disguise as Leia's father. And he mistakenly says Leia. Then he has to explain. Then he says, every time I see her, I see her mother. So again, another Padme reference. A lot of people want to think, do believe that. I think there's something to say for that he did that Leia does remind him of Satine, which is totally fair. But I do believe that this is for sure a Padme reference this time, that he obviously sees Padme in Leia, which I do think they did nail in the prequels, that while Padme isn't the special character, they did nail that there is a lot of Leia that was in Padme in the prequels. And I think they nailed that, especially in this show so far. So doing all this disguise, Obi-Wan is they're basically captured again by the stormtroopers, and one of the Empire's like commanders or whatever kills all the stormtroopers, and she's actually not working for the Empire anymore, and she's there to smuggle Jedi and keep them safe. So she brings Obi-Wan and Leia to this place, and they're about to go to this underground tunnel where Leia, they're all on the run, and then Obi-Wan just feels something. And you know right away that Vader must be in the vicinity, and I did not believe that we'd be getting a Vader Obi-Wan confrontation in episode 3. I mean, that was, I think a lot of us thought maybe episode 4 at the earliest, at least episode 5 or 6, so obviously to get this confrontation. We know there's going to be a very major lightsaber duel towards the end of the show. But this is a really early confrontation that I was just not, it took me completely off guard. And Vader Obi-Wan just kind of there watching, and she's like, Leia, just run, go to the person, get out of here, go to Alderaan. I'll distract him. So Obi-Wan's standing there, and Vader feels it as well. And as he's walking toward where he knows Obi-Wan is, he is force choking people violently. And also earlier in the episode, a stormtrooper, one of the stormtroopers that Obi-Wan killed, fell into that laser beam and got cut in half. This is probably the most violent Star Wars property that I can really think of. It's really cool. So Vader force chokes one person, then snaps the neck really quickly of another person. Super violent, but very Vader. Just all this anger kind of built up because he just blames Obi-Wan for everything that happened to him at the end in the prequels. Just everything. Padme turning on him, to then everyone, the whole Jedi turning on him. He just blames it all on Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan kind of runs away, and we get to this closed area, and Vader pulls out the red lightsaber. There's no dialogue, but you're, oh my God, it's Vader and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan runs away, and then we get the little confrontation with Obi-Wan and Vader, where Obi-Wan's like, what happened to you? And then Vader's kind of like, this is where you left me. This is how I am now. You made me. This is the person who you made me as. They have this really good lightsaber, a solid lightsaber duel. The reason why I love the duel a lot is that, yeah, this is not the most striking lightsaber duel, but it's cocky Vader, which is something I loved in Empire Strikes Back, is that he uses one hand in the lightsaber duel with Luke because he knows Luke is not strong enough. And in Empire Strikes Back, he just toys with Luke. And that's with him going with one arm, just fighting Luke with one arm. Says, I can fight you blindfolded and still beat you. He does this with Obi-Wan because he senses how just weak Obi-Wan has become since the end of Revenge of the Sith. And it's a really smart move. I also want to give credit. I know Hayden Christensen is in the suit for the majority of these scenes. He did a fantastic job. The movement of Vader, as I said, the actual duel itself was good, but the actual movement, him just walking down the street, was just very, very Vader. It was a mixture of cocky, just anger. It was a really good performance from Hayden Christensen as well in the suit. So after this confrontation, Vader obviously wins it. He puts this thing down on the ground, like, what is it? And he turns it all on fire and puts Obi-Wan in and says, the pain that you're going to feel, you deserve it. And then the pain that you're just feeling right now is just beginning. Trying to put Obi-Wan where he was in Revenge of the Sith. Thought it was really intense and some of the best Vader stuff we've seen so far in Star Wars. Just having Obi-Wan feel the same pain he felt. And I thought that was a really smart way of doing it. But the person who helped, the former Empire person who was helping Obi-Wan and Leia, helps save Obi-Wan, puts the fire out, and Vader stands there, and you see the fire in the mask. It was a beautiful Vader shot. And then the last bit of the episode is Leia in the tunnel. She thinks she's going to go out of here, and Reva somehow catches up to her. And now we're still doing Reva and Leia. So this is my strongest episode for me of Obi-Wan. I do have 2 issues with the show. I did feel like this should have really been the end of Leia kind of being involved in the story. It was a fun first 2 episodes with her, but I do feel like it was kind of time to let her go. And it seems like we're far from that as Reva now. Reva is now with Leia, so that's a bit of an issue. And I do feel like they kind of wrote themselves in the corner. They did actually want this Vader Obi-Wan thing, but they didn't. They wanted some way for Obi-Wan to escape. It didn't make sense for Vader just to stand there. He could have just forced the fire away, to let Obi-Wan be taken away. I hope that gets explained next week. It did feel like this, but overall, other than that, it was a pretty fantastic episode. Some of the best Vader we've seen in Star Wars. And again, Ewan McGregor continues to bring it as Obi-Wan. This is my most anticipated Star Wars property since Revenge of the Sith. So for me, this is for me right now, and I'm loving the show. So that's my thoughts on episode. Again, this is a great show so far for me. I know some people are having issues. I do also say that the stuff that happened to Moses Ingram was awful. Even if you could definitely dislike a character, the way the person's written, and even the performance, you can dislike it, but to write racist stuff to the person, write these awful death threat messages, it's awful. And there's just nothing of that is acceptable in any community. And having Ewan come out and say stuff, and everyone should be really defending Moses Ingram. If you like her or not, you need to be defending her. It's a really awful thing that happened to her this week. But overall, great episode. Can't wait. We're at the halfway point, so I'm going to be with you guys here on the next 3 Wednesdays, getting my spoiler breakdown of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So like the video, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys soon.